story with ABC News. The Premier has rejected the idea of imposing a ring of steel around Canterbury Bankstown despite COVID cases in the area continuing to rise. It comes as New South Wales sets a new daily record for infections with 356 cases and 3 more deaths. Among the deaths were a man and a woman in their 80s and another man in his 70s. Gladys Berejiklian says a ring of steel won't work.
Delta is different and we need to treat it differently. And the New South Wales government doesn't have any intention of putting in strategies that aren't going to work. What we do need is to make sure we have greater compliance.
More than 11,000 people are being pursued by Services Australia over almost $33 million the agency claims was wrongly paid out at the height of the pandemic last year.
3 generations of swamp wallabies.
From the Senate committee, the organisation said it had
Mother,
identified the people after reviews of their income support payments and
granddaughter,
subsidy income paid to them by their
and
employers.
daughter.
Green Senator Rachel Seward says
And the granddaughter's got a Joey in the pouch.
pursuing individuals for debts at the same time it avoids scrutiny over highly profitable big businesses claiming the subsidy. The government
And the bowerbird approves.
public disclosure of companies which had claimed the JobKeeper subsidy. The Prime Minister is warning the only way global carbon emissions will be reduced is if developing nations are held to the same standards. The UN Intergovernment Panel adopts strong emissions reduction targets to avoid the worst of the predictions. Scott Morrison says Australia is making significant progress in cutting its own emissions, but he says developing countries account for 2/3 of the world's carbon emissions and can't be overlooked.
We need the technological changes that will transform the global energy economy of the world. It's not good enough that it just happen to Australia and the United States and in Europe. It must happen in these other countries, and they must have prosperity. Otherwise, we will not fix this.
Meanwhile, the state's Environment Minister says he's considering incentives for landowners in rural and regional New South Wales to help stop land clearing. The climate report shows Australia's land area has warmed by about 1.4 degrees since 1910. Matt Keane says the government needs to do better after facing criticism of negligent land clearing, particularly in New South Wales.
We'll be announcing a suite of measures working hand in glove with our farmers. We don't want to penalise our farmers and those people that are land clearing. We want to incentivise them to stop land clearing.
A Chinese court has rejected the appeal of a Canadian national who faces execution after being convicted of drug smuggling. Prosecutors allege Robert Schellenberg tried to smuggle after a previous appeal.
Such is life.
Today's ruling comes at a time when relations between China and Canada remain tense following the arrest of a Huawei executive in Vancouver in late 2018.
Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.
Virginia